Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. So last time, intuitively and physically, we got out a very serious problem. And what is light? And now additionally, how do you spell light? And is it a difference we've already made? Right? Because if I have light, this thing, this light bulb right here, people will spell that L-I-G-H-T. But if you have something like RuneLite, just a video game RuneScape, but you have a video game and then it's called, there's an add-on or a plugin or something for your computer, some software, and it's called RuneLite. And so you have something, you assert the existence of something with mass, right? I am composed of mass, you're composed of mass, everything has mass. And so, and all things are discontinuous. My notebook is separate than me, I am separate than my chair, but we're all connected. And we can't physically touch because the electron is, it's not really a point particle, but it's good enough to call it a point particle. The point being is it can't actually physically touch because it's a dynamic of stabilized vibration. And so what we're trying to do is, again, stabilize sensorality. What is sensorality? How do we sense things? But with this, language is consistent, trying to pull all of these big ideas into a single video, into a single theorem. And so, but the big physical idea right now, or at least we're focusing on, is have we misassigned a spelling, light, L-I-G-H-T, where this should be L-I-T-E. But if conceptually, right, if light is the opposite of mass, this thing has mass, but like, am I seeing light, right? No. There's an electrical current. There's a potential in the wall, a difference in electrical charge that allows the electrons to move, right? They're flowing. And then it goes through a filament. And that filament has resistance. And that resistance produces radiation. And so I'm seeing the objects. The energy is emitted because of the resistance of the filament. And so it's like, you don't see light. I mean, that's immediately apparent. But then again, what differentiation have we made by spelling L-I-T-E versus L-I-G-H-T? And which one is correct to which thing? So I'm talking about our intuition. Like, it feels funny. It's like, well, maybe we've just misassigned a given spelling to a different thing. In the same way we have a lot versus a space lot, right? A plot of land is a lot, or a lot, a space lot. And much of something is a lot. A, no space, L-O-T. So do we have this differentiation that already exists within language, and we're just misassociating them to the wrong object or to the wrong physical property or process? And so, because if you think about it, then conceptually, light, L-I-G-H-T, is the maximum limit or the maximum bound of conceptually what L-I-T-E represents. Right? If I have, again, using RuneLite, or just, well, yeah, we'll just use RuneLite. Because I looked at, Bud Light was actually spelled with L-I-G-H-T. But the point is, again, we don't have this right association. And so you have something, and then if you call it light, L-I-T-E, and it has less calories, or it has less functionality for a computer program, for software. And so if light is the opposite of mass, meaning it has no mass, mass exists, all of our measurements come from saying, here's an object, here's a thing, and so light is not that, then light, L-I-G-H-T, would be the maximum limit of L-I-T-E. But as we just described, we're not seeing light. You see objects, you see mass, and this energy is emitted because of resistance. And so, still trying to work out what exactly is going on there. So that's the big intuitive thing that we're focusing on now, continuing on with our derivation, our assessment of language. Language communicates, right? That's how I'm communicating with you, is I'm vibrating my vocal cords. Connection is proportional to communication. Nothing is touching, everything is connected. And you're more connected with people, the more you communicate with them. Sensorality is communicality. Certain, ascertain. Sensorality ascertains, right? To ascertain is to obtain. To ascertain is to have. Sensorality is ascertainmentality. What is the relationship of light and life? So now here's where we can use our direct iteration analysis that we've proven, right? Literally the difference between light, L-I-T-E, and life, L-I-F-E, isn't even a letter. It's a geometry within that. Literally look on your phone, or if your handwriting's decent, the T and the F, right? That's one of these geometric relationships that I just do intuitively. And now if you write out the T and the F, they both have that little cross thing. So if you like flip the T and then like move up the dash for the lower cases, it's like some sort of chiralities hanging around here, but this is some sort of geometric relationship. And so can we prove light, L-I-T-E, is the correct spelling because it's an iteration of life? And then everybody has in their house, live, laugh, love. Well, you have vibration, that's stabilized into energy, and that energy stabilized into mass. And that's where we all started, and we all have our measurements and our language and our descriptors. But light is related to life, so vibration came first, then there was light. We're kind of figuring out how to spell that right now and what physical thing we're really talking about. And then you have life, mass, right? Life is massive, it contains mass. And so it's not live, laugh, life, or love, life, live, or whatever the fuck you see on every, generic home decoration. But vibration, but then light, which I'm pretty sure is L-I-T-E, then life. But people have the phrase like, you're the light of my life. And again, my big intuition is this thing right here. What we're trying to describe right here is L-I-T-E. But intuitively, we've already established they're related, right? Light, the opposite of mass, and light, less mass, is the same thing. Because we're showing the consistency of language. And then again, remember, this is a step I've already done. It's been long enough where it's genuinely, effectively new to me, but I could literally just look it up again, what the intuition was. The actual linguistics, the letters is different, but it's the same logical step. But then we just have, is language literal, right? Well, I said language is literal, but you can't construct something that has logical sense that isn't a theorem. Anybody. And you just have to iterate this process to show these words, not create word salad, and just show these words of forms of words to complete these word families, because knowledge is sufficiently complete. But is language literal? You probably still don't see what I've done here. Look at your screen now, right? Literal is spelled on L-I-T-E, light, literal. Haven't done that in a while, like 20 episodes, but it's still happening, and it still sneaks up on you. So like literally, light is literal. Is language light? Right? Is there any mass to what I'm doing? To me communicating with you through this camera, through this microphone? No. Mass exists, and I'm making it vibrate, and we have consistency of what those sounds are associated to. Book, table, you're a huge faggot. Right? You get what I'm saying. And then another thing, again, just to use the word fuck, it's versatility, right? When I'm saying, the only theme of language is life, or the only theme of language is good. You don't have bad words. What is good? Love is good, right? Fuck means love, just in a much more crude sense. So that's why the word is so versatile, right? It's a fundamental, you can't have bad words. And fuck is just this crude version of love. It's going to be hard pressed to tell me that's not what that word means, like in its fundamental sense. But that's why the word is so versatile. And then so, is language light? Is there any weight to words? No, it's just, again, it's vibration. Vibration doesn't have your decibels, right? It's a relative thing. It's not absolute. And so, sensorality loves, the only theme is love. So all of our language is built around love, and again, not in the Lex Friedman sense. That dude's still going to prison. This isn't fun, fuck that guy. But the only theme of language is love. And you can go back and you can look at my Understanding Terrorism, my first publication. There's a sentence in there, we're all connected through love. Nothing is touching, but everything is connected. What are we connected through? Understanding, love. So I'm just truly just re-deriving the same exact things that I've intuitively proven decades ago, truly. Levity is light, L-I-T-E. Weight is heavy. The opposite of gravity is levity, right? Gravity went from a force from Newton to a shape with Einstein. Words have meaning. Gravity is gravity. When people say that's a very grave situation or that holds a lot of gravity, it's heavy. They're more referencing emotion. They're not specific enough because again, all language is articulated through people or individuals. And so, but people doesn't really necessarily mean human all the time. But yeah, the opposite of gravity is levity. Levitation floats, levitation suspends. Mass produces gravitation. Vibration produces radiation. Sensorality is radiality. Remember, mass is the thing that is vibrating. And that energy, again, there's one way we went through the stabilization events and then we have this intuition because mass contains information. And so it's all in the same way someone passes away and you're like, they're still within me. That's very literal. That's extremely literal. But the information is contained within the progress, the components of the universe. Sensorality is radiality. Sensorality is radial. Radiality is centered. And again, kind of a more logical extension or expansion or reframing of there is no unique, if you have a center, there's no unique point on a perimeter. They're all equidistant away. Yeah. Sensorality is lightality, right? L-I-T-E, generalize it, L-I-tality. Sensorality is lifeality. Sensorality is loveality. Sensorality is viability. And so now again, we've proven this fundamental stability of two. If you say you're an individual, that word still contains duality. So you can't break down anything past two-dimensional components. And so that VI from vibration, DI from dimension, those are like the linguistic manifestations of that stability. And so, but the VI is the prefix, that fundamental stability of two, and then VIT, like intuitivity. It's really like it's like a prefix from, it's literally the prefix from vibration. It's that vi, and then the T is like past tense. So it's like VI, comma, T. And again, because remember, all of like words are already in like the complete form, where it's like we gotta be getting close, man. But I've already done this steps, it's torture. But thinking is resistance. And so I kind of commented this over email the other day, but it's true. Like the process of thinking is in the same way this light it's going through a coil, and that coil has resistance. It's not completely flowing. Thinking is resistance. When you're trying to learn something new and you sit there and think about it, and you haven't had the light bulb moment, and your head will literally feel like pressure. And then you have that light bulb moment, and then there's no more pressure anymore. So like I said, I reached fundamental, whether I don't have any resistance to my thought, to the point where it's like I'm not even thinking. Thinking is an active process. If information comes in and your filtration, your sensorization, your sensorality, your ability to process information has synchronized, there's no resistance. In the exact same way you don't have any electrical resistance at, there's superconductors. And so I've commented that over email. But light emerges from resistance. And that's what we were commenting earlier. So what is the relationship of thinking and light? His thought process burned bright like a light, but they're both fundamentally based on resistance. This radiation comes from resistance. The pressure in your head, I don't have any sort of mental resistance to assimilating information. All I am doing is iterating the same big conceptualizations and intuitive understandings that have always been true, that have always been real, but the solutions are done. And so just trying to refine, iterate this proof till this stabilizing theorem pops out. Regardless, it is profoundly illegal. It is profound and extensive torture. But here's some more free science, I guess. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.